Hello students. So today we are going to be discussing about capital markets and how our capital markets going to be divided and on what basis are the functions working. First of all, what is a capital market? A small brief understanding of what is capital market. Capital market is a market that long-term securities are being traded. To understand that, the simplest way to remember, okay, it's a money market where long trade, everything which is long term is traded in capital market. Now, under capital market is further bifurcated, which is very important for actually getting to the topic of what I'm supposed to be discussing today. But all capital market is basically divided into two parts. That becomes your primary market, secondary market. Okay. Now, what is primary market? That's what we understand. Simplest way of understanding. Primary market is a market where corporations embed a fresh issue of shares to being contributed by the public for soliciting capital to meet their necessary long-term funds, like extending the current trade or buying a unique entity. Now, please understand, the simplest way to put this is primary market is where the first time the organizations, corporations, businesses, when they're issuing the shares for the first time, the issue happens for the first time, wherein they require the money to meet their capital, okay, which is necessary for the long-term funds. It's very important for the long-term funds, like extending the current trade or buying a unique entity. Very, very important. Again, to sum it up, primary market is but it's a marketplace where corporations or organizations or businesses get together, and what happens is they issue for the first time. Okay, the first time they're issuing the shares. Why are they issuing the shares? To increase their capital. They're increasing the capital. Why are they increasing the capital? They're increasing the capital simply because they require for their long-term funds to buy some of their long-term funds, to get some of the long-term funds. Now, why do they need a long-term funds? Simply because for the extending the current trade which is happening or buying, and also for the unique entity, for buying the unique entities. Is as simple as that. Another option that we have is that is multiple types of issues made by the establishments are offer of for sale, public issue of Indian depository receipts, that's your IDR, bonus issue, right issue, and etc. Okay, primary market, the simplest way to remember will simply be that it's a marketplace where the organizations or the corporations or any businesses issue their shares for the first time with the intention of increasing their capital. And why are they increasing the capital is just simply because they want some kind of a long-term fund. Why they need a long-term fund is simply because they want to extend the current trade and also for buying certain unique identities, unique information which is required for the organization. That is the meaning of your primary market under capital market. The second one we have is the secondary market. Now, what is a secondary market? A secondary market is the prototype of a capital market where debentures, current shares, options, bonds, treasury bills, commercial papers, etc. of the enterprise are patronized among the investors. The secondary market can be an auction business where the business of bonds is functioned through the dealer market on the stock exchange, usually called over the counter. Now, what happens? Secondary market, now it's no more the first time issuing happening. Here, the market, the players here in the market, the organizations, the corporations, whoever takes part in this particular markets already are well established. They already have their position. They do not have to issue it for the first time. So what happens here? The second thing they are going to be highlighting is what the enterprises or the entrepreneurs are patronized among the investors. Now they're only trying to focus on the investors in order to increase their goodwill. Because if they increase their goodwill, what happens? The long-term funds which they are expecting, which they require, also simultaneously. Secondary market can be an auction market where the businesses of bonds is functioned through the dealer market of a stock exchange, usually called as the over the counter. So here what happens, there's a lot of investors coming into picture, because of which what happens, there's a lot of positions that people try to take up. Okay, as we already know, secondary market can be called as the auction market. Okay, now the simplest way to make it a little more easier. Okay, if I always when we study, two types, or when we're studying the types of any particular concept, the simplest way to understand is by finding the differentiation. So we have a primary market and secondary market here. We will let's just find out what the differences. The first one is primary market is a market where the corporations embed the same meaning. Okay, and secondary market is again a prototype where the simplest remember thing, the way to remember primary market and secondary market is primary market is a market where the issue happens for the first time. When the companies, organizations, your corporations are issuing for the first time. Where in the secondary market, they already know, they already have been well versed, they already have a position, they're just trying to increase whatever they have. Okay, and how are they increasing? They are trying to go with the investors who are interested to come and invest in their particular organization or a firm or whatever the business kind of form be. So this is also called as very important. Primary market is also called as a new issue market. Okay, it's issuing for the first time, so it's also called as a new issue market. Wherein the secondary market is called as the aftermarket. Why is it called aftermarket? Because it's already done. Okay, it already has a position now. Now they're only trying to expand their business, make the business a little more bigger. Okay, and try to, because of that, they require a lot more investors to come and increase the funds which is required for the organization or the corporation. That's why it's called the aftermarket. Then we have the purchasing type. You know, what is the purchasing type? Here what happens is the direct purchase. Under primary market, because the company is not well known, it's issuing for the first time, what happens is the direct purchase which happens. Wherein in the secondary market, it is an indirect purchase. As we can see here, the meaning is already been given here. Secondary market can be an auctioned business where the business of the bonds is functioned through a dealer market. So it doesn't happen directly because already the markets which have been exposed in the secondary markets will already have a good position in the market. Because of which, what happens? The functioning of this particular secondary markets happen through a dealers or through the dealers market, okay, or the stock exchange that we already know. Then, parties of buying and selling. Who are the parties involved when it comes to buying and selling? Under primary market, buying and selling takes place between the company and the investors. Buying and selling happens easily between the company and the investors. Buying and selling takes place between the investors alone. The only difference is here in primary market, what happens since it's issuing for the first time, there's a there is a lot of possibilities even for companies as well as the investors to come and invest, okay, for increasing their funds. Wherein your secondary market, what happens, there is no company interventions here because your company has already been well established. Here what happens, they're only focusing and targeting on the investors, okay, to whom it provides financing. Now why the financing concept is coming, we'll understand. Under your primary market, it provides financing to the existing companies for facilitating growth and expansion. So these people are providing fund, money, the finance for who the existing companies which have already been existed for facilitating growth and for the expansion purpose. Wherein the other one, which becomes a secondary market, it does not provide any kind of financing because these people themselves require finance because they are focusing on expanding their businesses. Where in this place, it doesn't happen that way because it's issuing for the first time. Things can happen the other way around too. Here, it doesn't happen because they have already been well established. Now, coming to the intermediaries. Who are the intermediaries who have been involved? Under your primary market, the major intermediary comes your underwriters. Okay, underwriters are one of the major types of intermediaries under your primary market. Wherein under your secondary market, you have the concept of brokers coming into picture. Okay, because we only need a person who can tell us what it is and how it is connected. We do not want a complete, explanation of what is exactly happening. That's why we have a concept of brokers coming to the price levels. Now, price levels under your primary market remains fixed. There is no such concept of fluctuation that happens under your primary market. Remember, it is a market where it's issuing for the first time. Coming to your secondary market, price levels varies with the variations in the demand and supply. Because this particular market, the companies which have been doing their trade is already being well positioned in the market. Because of which, what happens, the price level varies according to the variations in the demand and the supply. Based on the demand and the supply itself, the price levels keep varying. With that, we wind up with the major concept that becomes your major bifurcation. That is, you have your capital market. Under capital market, it's basically divided into two parts or bifurcated into two parts. One becomes your primary market, and one becomes your secondary market. What is a primary market? Primary market is a marketplace where the corporations invest a fresh issue of shares. Fresh issue of shares becomes the most important point, which has to be understood by all of you. Okay, contributed by the public for soliciting the necessity for long-term funds and etc. Coming to your secondary market, what happens secondary market? Secondary market is a prototype of a capital market where the debentures and current shares, options, bonds, treasury bills, commercial papers, etc. of the enterprise are patronized amongst the investors. Here, the concept of investors have been focused. Okay. Also, the secondary market can be an auction business. Again, auction business becomes another important way to remember the concept better, wherein the business of a bonds is functioned through the dealer market. Another term to remember is your dealer market. Okay, it doesn't happen directly; it happens to the dealer market or the stock exchanges, usually called the over the counter. When it is not been done directly, you have to go through a procedure where you have to go through somebody else, called this called as the over the counter. Basic difference that we already learned, the meanings, and then it's also known as, please understand, your primary market is always known as the new issue market, okay, and secondary market is called as the aftermarket. Then we have the purchasing type. Under that, we have the direct purchase because it's issuing for the first time, wherein the indirect purchase, because it happens, doesn't happen directly, it happens indirectly. We have a broker or an agency through which you have to do it. Then we have is the parties involved in the buying and selling. Under your primary market, always remember there are companies interventions too. Companies and investors are open for them to come and purchase. Wherein when coming to your secondary market, what happens? There's only focusing on the investors. Okay, because only they can help them with a huge or the large amount of funds that they require. To whom it provides financing. Now, who are these markets providing financing to? When it comes to your primary market, it provides financing to the existing companies for facilitating growth and expansion. They're not just doing for themselves, but they're also helping for the other companies for facilitating the growth and the expansion concepts. Wherein your secondary market, it does not provide any sort of financing because they themselves require the funds in for various purposes, as we already learned, like your expansion reasons, for making sure that the company is investing in the right kind of assets which is required for them. Then we have the intermediaries involved. Who are the intermediaries that have been involved in both of these markets? When it comes to your primary market, the intermediary who's involved becomes your underwriters. Please understand, again, very important. Your underwriters become the intermediaries involved under your primary market, wherein your secondary market, secondary market, what happens is the intermediary involved becomes your brokers. Okay, because through them only you can do the transactions. Coming to the price levels, will they remain fixed or will they fluctuate? If it is a primary market, it remains fixed because again it's happening for the first time. It's new to the concept of market, wherein the secondary market, they already have a position. So when they already have a position, on what basis are they going to find out? Okay, on what basis are they going to fix the price levels? They're fixing the price levels on the variation in demand and supply. It happens on the variations of the demand and supply. With that, we wind up with the concept of capital market, and under capital market, we have learned primary market and the secondary market. Another one concept which I want to discuss with you guys becomes the money market. Now, what is a money market? Again, definition. When it's a definition, we need to remember the complete exact way or exact meaning of what it says. Money market acts as an essential part of the economic development. It is concerned with that portion of the financial system which is or where trading of short-term fund is done for a period of less than 1 year. Very simple, very easy. Remember, the moment you find money market, remember the key terminology, that is short-term. It is always short-term in nature. It can never be long-term in nature because the concept of money is involved. You're directly dealing with money here. Okay, so it is concerned with that portion of the financial system where trading of the short-term funds is done for a period of less than 1 year. This is again a very important concept. Whenever we are discussing about anything related to money, anything related to markets, anything related with buying and selling, always remember, or lending and borrowing. So the concept of time. Okay, the time period, the duration has a huge impact here. So when coming to your money market, remember it is less than a year. That has to happen less than a year, where short-term funds are only being traded. Okay, it is a product of the capital market. Another important thing, it is a product of a capital market which is treated as a channel of short-term debit capital. Although it is undoubtedly distinct from the capital market, money market deals with short-term calls and notice deposits, promissory notes, government papers, short period bills, etc. These are terminologies which we already know. All of these terms work on the same basis. One, they are directly involved in money. Two, it is all for a very short span of time between the two organizations or between X and Y. Okay, coming to the functions. Now, when we learn the functions, we can understand the concept a little better, which is our last topic for today. So, coming to the concept of functions of money market, first is what? Worthwhile use of balance of capital. It is very important to understand the money which is not required. Like if at all we do not have enough money with us, how are we going to balance that money? is going to happen for a very short span. That's why they're simply saying worthwhile. Okay, use of balance of capital, balancing the capital with whatever available. I'm balancing the capital. Aids in monetary progress. Definitely aids in monetary progress because you are not you're in a situation where you are not able to pay the entire amount. These concepts come into picture wherein you can continue with your process, when you can continue with your business and later pay them the amount which is due. Helps the bank. This again helps the banks because all of these come under the banking concepts. Everything happens through banks, where lending, borrowing concepts also gets implemented in the same concept. Helps the government. Again, everything is happening through the government. Nothing goes against the government because we are doing this particular concept of lending and borrowing legally. So when it is done legally, it has to go through the banks. Balance amongst demand and supply of the capital. There's always a need for the extra when the demand and the supply only is the major highlight. If there's a sudden increase in the demand, sudden increase in the supply, then it's by default we'll need to balance them. When we need to balance them is when we have to actually go for the borrowing and lending concepts. Then we have the next point, which is the competent application of monetary policies. Now, it's not just conducting activities, but it's very important to implement the monetary policies too. Why are we implementing the monetary policies? Simply because we are going through the government. We are not doing it illegally, we're doing it legally. So when we are going through the government and through the banks, there are certain policies, regulations, rules which have been set up by the government and the banks, which has to be followed by default. So it is a competent application for monetary policies, the right procedures through which you can do your borrowing, lending, whatever kind of business you want to legally. Effective use of money, very important. We are rightfully using the money. We are not putting the money into any form of other activities such as your gambling, wherein you're putting some money and getting more. It's not that kind of a concept. Where what happens, you are making sure you're doing it legally under the government supervision, under with the help of the banks, also making sure you're earning enough profits as per the demand and supply of the particular business that you're dealing with. Okay, this becomes one of the most important functions of the money market. This is again a very important answer or a question that can be asked from your exam's point of view. So I want people to please completely focus, you guys, students, to completely focus on these points and understand what they mean. To understand this, if you simply understand the concept of what is money market, all these points by default can be explained by yourselves. Okay, so money market, please understand the only two things you have to remember is always is that the short term which has been done for a period less than 1 year. Okay, anything which has been done for a period of less than 1 year, and what kind of instruments that can be used, or what are the things that are used under your money market has been given here. Short term is call money, notice money, promissory notes, government papers, short period bills, etc. Okay, so we are done with today's class. What are the things we learned? Just to have a quick summary, we learned what is capital market. We learned under capital market what are the two bifurcation which takes place. One becomes your primary market, and the second one becomes your secondary. One becomes your primary market, second becomes your secondary market. Under primary market, we learned what is the meaning of primary market. The simplest way to understand that is issuing for the first time. Secondary market, what happens? It's already been done. Now we're using the brokers and making sure that we are focusing on the investors to come and invest in the organizations for our own benefit. Coming to the differences, again, definition is already done. Also known as the primary market is known as the new issue market, and the secondary market is called as the aftermarket. And the purchasing time becomes what direct purchase happens under your primary market, indirect purchase happens under your secondary market. Here what happens, there's company and investors coming in and doing the buying and selling. Here what happens, there's only the investors who's coming and doing the buying and selling. Then who does the primary market provide the financing to? It provides the financing for the companies, existing companies, to facilitate the growth and for the expansion purpose. Wherein on the other side, to the secondary market, it doesn't provide any sort of financing at all. Coming to the intermediaries who are going to be involved, or the agencies or the middlemen through which they work under your primary market, it works under or through the functions of the underwriters, wherein when it comes to your secondary market, it is the brokers through which the transactions take place. Coming to the price levels, the price remains fixed here because it's having for the first time, wherein in the other side, there's a secondary market, it depends upon the variations of the demand and the supply. Then we learn the next concept becomes your money market. Money market is one of the most important parts which is required for the economic development. Now, how is it economically development and why is it focusing on the economic development? Is simply because what happens, the trading of short-term fund is being done, which is directly money for a short span of time. That is the short span of time is basically from less than a year. Okay, it's very less than a year. And what are the kind of instruments which can be traded? simply as your call money, your notice deposits, promissory notes, government papers, short period bills, and etc. And some of the most important function of market, money market becomes your balancing of capital, monetary progress, which is very important. It doesn't just help the bank, but it also helps the government. Also, what happens? Helps you to balance amongst the demand and the supply of the basic capital that we have. Also helps in application of the monetary policies, following and regulating the monetary policies. And last point is effective use of the money, making sure that whatever we have been investing, we're rightly investing so that we're going to get the best output is required, which again is going to affect the economic development of the organization as well as the country. Okay, I hope I've made myself clear with these concepts. Thank you.